Welcome to Profit First Nation, the official podcast for entrepreneurs who are operating their businesses in the zone of permanent profitability. I'm Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, and now here's your Profit First Nation guide, Danielle Mulvey.
Welcome back to Profit First Nation, my entrepreneurial friends. Today is another value builder episode. So an episode where we really start to kind of peel back the layers on one of the 8 value drivers that, makes the valuation of your business either, go higher or cause you some problems and go lower. And even though, most of us think, this is my dream, I have my company and such, you never know when you're going to have to exit your business. And that exit might be a planned exit, or it could be a tragic exit. And so what you want to do is just constantly be mindful of the opportunities in your business that you can be maximizing the valuation of your business. Most businesses sell for like a 3.3 multiple on their earnings before taxes. And ideally, the highest valuations are coming in at a 7+ multiple on earnings before taxes. So that is why we focus on these episodes where we're talking and peeling back again the layers on one of the 8 value drivers of your business, because when you're driving the value of your business, you're obviously also increasing that profitability, and that profitability becomes the basis that the multiple is applied to get the valuation for your business. Basically, that big check that you're cashing out on for all of your blood, sweat, tears, and forethought into getting your business at its maximum valuation. And, this takes time, right? So this is, again, just keeping on it. You tune into this podcast because every week you're open to a new dose of how can you make your business better, more profitable. So today, the value driver that we are going to focus on is called the Switzerland structure. What's the Switzerland structure? Well, I think you could maybe guess what it is. And, when you think about Switzerland, Switzerland is the epitome of neutrality, right? They are not dependent upon anyone. In fact, they are in the middle of Europe and don't use the euro for its currency. They were not involved in the prior 2 world wars. Again, the epitome of neutrality. They're even the home of the Geneva Convention. And, we hold Switzerland in high regard for their neutrality. And so that same concept of that same sort of neutrality is the point of not being dependent upon one customer, not being dependent upon one employee, and not being dependent upon one vendor. So, you don't want an overwhelming dependence upon one customer. You cannot be over-reliant in your business on one employee, and you don't want to have over-allegiance to one vendor. So we're going to break these down today and talk about like what it takes and what you can do to make sure that you are operating a Switzerland structure when it comes to who you have as your customers, your employees, and your vendors, and that there is not an over-reliance on one particular of either category. So when it comes to sales, right? We're not in business if we're not making sales. And so we're going to start here. And rule number 1 is that you can't have all of your eggs in one basket when it comes to customers and sales. Oh gosh, this brings back some crazy memories, lots of emotion. But I started my first business at the ripe old age of 25. And guess what? I started with one customer. I started with a whale of a customer, a big customer. I started with service merchandise. So I'm dating myself. And service merchandise was basically a sort of catalog showroom. They had over 600 locations across the country. They sold jewelry, housewares, luggage, toys, etc. In fact, they were the number one retailer of jewelry in the country. They just weren't K Jewelers. They just weren't inside the mall. They were my first customer, and I had an advertising and marketing agency, and we were tapped by them to help them with their special events, their jewelry special events. So it wasn't like I was running everything, but it, made my first business $1 million business right out of the gate, because that's what was the budget that we had in that first year. So I think everything's great. I start to bring on a couple of employees. We start doing some media planning, start spending some money for campaigns, photo shoots, etc. And no freaking joke, a month after I opened the doors of this company, my first company, Service Merchandise filed for bankruptcy. And I was just blown away because we had, again, spent money. And when a company files for bankruptcy, the bankruptcy court can say, oh, well, you don't have to pay these invoices. The bankruptcy court can even claw back money that had been paid to vendors and such. And so it was a very just kind of scary time. A turnaround company came in and started doing things. They shut down locations, et cetera, and such. But that was an early 1 month into business wake up call of, oh dear, I thought that I would kind of like have Service Merchandise, and it wasn't my plan that they would be my only customer, but out of the gate, I thought, oh, I've got some time here. I can really kind of like, maybe just focus on them for the first 6 months or year of my business. And again, no way, Jose, was that going to happen. So quickly, I had to, start finding other clients and really challenge myself in that capacity and do some pivoting and such. And, it did work out. They stayed a client with us. They obviously eventually closed all of their stores, but we had a really, lovely run with them and such. And then basically some people who took over that category, namely Sam's Club, I don't know why I'm going into this level of detail, took over that special event jewelry category and then became a client of ours. But anyways, let's get back to this. So the point is that, you really can't have all of your eggs in one basket when it comes to your clients. Now, I like to apply the Pareto Principle when it comes to clients. And because not all clients are good clients and such, but you need to have the right diversification. So every couple of years, we go through an audit. Maybe we should do it every year, but we definitely go through it every couple of years. And we look at all of our sales over that time. And then what we do is, for our construction material supply company, we sort them by first by customer. So we're seeing what the total sales were by customer. And then we sort it by the specialty that we were selling to them. Was it concrete? Was it rebar? Was it steel stud framing and drywall, et cetera? And so when we did this, and we looked at our top 20% of customers and what we were selling to them, because sometimes we're selling to a general contractor multiple specialties, but we had 13 specialties that we were selling. And when we completed our audit and we looked at things, we ended up cutting out 5 of the 13 specialties. And when we dropped those 5 specialties, that actually only represented about 8% of our business. Now, there were 3 specialties that represented another 12% of the business, but even though they were small specialties, they were applicable to our largest customers. who buy multiple specialties. So we kept them and such. But we exited 5 specialties. And really that gives us perspective too, because when we looked at that, those specialties, those customers weren't that great of customers to begin with. And so now we're able to focus a little bit more specifically and there's casting a wide net and then there's casting a smart net. And so, when you look at your customers, you want to, have a diversification of customers. And when you do this 80-20, regardless of what you're selling them, when you look at, who are your top customers, who are the top 20% of your customers giving you 80% of your revenues, that means that you need to build on that more of those type of customers. Okay. So for example, in our top 20% of customers, maybe one customer is, a $1 million customer. We'll use some easy math here. One of these customers is a $1 million customer. And then we've got other customers who, only bought 40,000, 50,000 with us. But what I need to do now is I need to find other customers who can be the potential of being a $1 million customer. So you're constantly up-leveling your business and you're getting rid of that bottom hanging fruit in your business. And again, it's really quite remarkable, when I talk to our accounting department or when I talk to our contracts department and such, like the customers who are just require the most customer service or the most follow-up when it comes to paying their invoices, et cetera, and stuff, we're that low-hanging fruit, though that small business, kind of chump change. I don't need a $15,000 annual customer when I have $1 million annual customers. Does that make sense? So take, when it comes to your customers, number one, we don't want over dependence upon one customer. You should have a good mix of customers and you want to target the high value customers. And then you want to add more customers that are in that high value category. So that is, of course I'm a nerd for spreadsheets and such. So, dump some data into Excel and let me have at it. I could, that gets me so excited. Hopefully it gets you excited too. But that's simply all you have to do is you have to just export your sales data into a spreadsheet, start doing some sorting, start doing some looking at things and then up leveling and such there. But then also too, challenging yourself how you can find more of those customers. So, maybe only 3 customers represent the top 80% of your total revenue and such. Well, you need more than 3 customers. You need 8 or 9 customers at that level of being, one of your top averaging customers. Okay. So then we move on to number 2, and that is an employee cannot be a linchpin in your organization. A business cannot be overly reliant on one particular employee for its success. So you can't be over-reliant on one salesperson. We talked about this a few episodes back when we said it can't be you, right? That hub and spoke. The business can't be overly reliant on you, but it also can't be overly reliant on one employee that is not you in your organization. And so, this is something that is, again, really important to vet out and to figure out and make it happen. Because again, something tragic can happen. Something, can just go awry. And someone who, had every intention of being a lifer is no longer alive, honestly, to do the work and such. So, one way to do this is to force your employees on an extended vacation. And like we did with the hub and spoke model, declare your 4-week vacation. And then, that's sort of like the deadline to the business not being overly reliant on you as being the hub in a hub and spoke model. And the same thing can happen in the Switzerland structure is if you have only one employee, for example, running one area, then, how can you force them to go on an extended vacation 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe not 4 weeks, but an extended vacation where it's like, okay, Michelle is going to be gone long enough that, we need backup. We need people to do her job while she's away. Typically, they're doing about 70 to 80% of the job when someone's away for that period of time and just keeping things going. And so you're really kind of also wanting like multiple people to be shouldering the burden of one person gone, not one person shouldering the burden of one person gone and still doing their job, right? Ideally. And so this cross training, this understanding. And the interesting thing about doing this is you actually start to gain some efficiencies in your business when you have someone from one area. So for example, we took some people in our contracts department and cross-trained them in the accounting department because that was a smaller department than contracts. So, when we did that, it was kind of interesting that contracts went under the hood of accounting and saw how things were being done. And there was some ahas of like, oh, hey, actually we could do this part and we could do this going forward. Or, hey, we have this information in this report. This would help you and things like that. So it actually like was a double win-win. Our accounting department got some relief and got some ability to be able to like walk away and not feel that when they would come back from an extended vacation that they would be overwhelmed with work because it was 80% of it was being done while they were gone. And then we got some efficiencies as well when, two departments in the same organization are kind of like actually looking under the hood and seeing what's happening and such and seeing how they can, complement each other in a more efficient way. So that is, you don't want one employee to be a linchpin. And so forcing an employee from a department or an employee who is on the verge or is a linchpin in your organization really is that opportunity to make this shift and to, get back into a Switzerland structure when it comes to your employees and not having that over-reliance or dependence upon one employee. All right. And then number 3, of course, if we don't want an over-dependence upon one customer, we don't want an over-dependence upon one employee, we don't want an over-dependence or a single vendor in our wheelhouse here, and we don't really want a significant majority of material supplies or services to be dependent upon one vendor as well. So again, a vendor audit is a great opportunity, and there should be plenty of market share, and ideally, once you start getting clear about things, and once you start like in this process, ditching those customers who are taking a lot of your time, but only giving you, paltry sales, and start up leveling your customers to bigger dollar customers. Well, now you've got more demand for your vendors to supply you and such. So, like to a certain degree, some people think, oh, I need to do the volume. And some vendors, to be honest, they've got these tricks to, or incentives, shouldn't use the word tricks. They have these incentives that, try to get loyalty from you and your business and such. And, to be honest, you might need to like look into things and be aware of things and such. One of our vendors, actually put out an incentive program that actually benefited the employees and not necessarily us, the business. And, it could have swayed an employee to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to call such and such and place the order with them. I'm going to call such and such and place the order with them because they were getting points that they could then redeem for, prizes with this particular vendor. So you just have to be weary of what's going on with your vendors and why certain vendors are chosen. And, sometimes, of course, it's not choosing the lowest price vendor if it means that there's going to be some, unreliability or delays or quality issues, et cetera, and such. But, you never know too, when a vendor, your favorite vendor, might get into trouble themselves and not be able to fulfill the orders like they did. So you want to keep it, again, you want to be like Switzerland. You want to be, not dependent upon any one party or any one constituent, not one vendor either. And there's going to be a multitude of reasons why, you might have a pool of vendors and why some business might go to vendor X and other business might go to vendor Y and such. So the vendor audit is really important to keep it fair and kind of interesting in your organization as well. And you have to weigh these incentive programs and such. Sometimes these incentive programs come at a greater expense because now they're having to provide these incentives and such. So, we've benefited one time. We benefited from something, but then when I looked at things, it didn't make sense for us to continue using that vendor going forward, even though the prior year we had gone on a fabulous trip down under to Australia that was completely paid for and such. So, you just have to really weigh things out, be prudent, be strategic, be looking at your numbers, be doing these audits and analysis, not monthly, not quarterly necessarily, but at least twice a year. Really breaking this down. Now you need to be looking at the employee stuff all the time, obviously, but when it comes to the customers and to the vendors, you want to do it periodically and no less than every 2 years and such. So that is the Switzerland structure, and something for you to be working in and diving in on. Remember, if you would like to work with a certified Profit First professional accountant, bookkeeper, or coach, you can do that by going to profitfirstnation.com and clicking on Contact. And then also when you click on Contact, make sure that you pop in and send us a question. We love the questions that you give us. And remember, we answer questions on episodes ending in 0, episodes ending in 5 with Billy Ann, and episodes ending in 8 with Mike. So we are feeding you so you're doing Profit First right and not Profit First-ish. Cheers to another profitable day, my entrepreneurial friend.
Thanks for tuning in to the Profit First Nation podcast. We hope you found today's episode valuable and that it's inspired you to take action towards achieving permanent profitability in your business. If you want to learn more about how to implement Profit First in your business and connect with a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, be sure to visit us at profitfirstnation.com to download our how-to guides and resources. Remember, permanent profitability is within your reach, and we're here to support you every step of the way. So let's do Profit First right together.
Profit First Nation website, related podcasts, and videos are provided for general information purposes only and do not constitute accounting, legal, tax, or other professional advice. Visitors should not act upon the content or information found here without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional.